Welcome to Airborne for Thursday from AirVenture 2016 at Whitman Regional Airport. I'm Christopher C. Odom. On our program today, the FAA Administrator readdresses numerous issues at AirVenture. King Schools talks about new certification standards. Evolution Aircraft is evolving. These stories and more are coming up on this edition of Airborne Unlimited. FAA Administrator Michael Huerta came down to EAA AirVenture 2016, and A&N's Tom Patton covered his presentation that did not unfortunately include much new information regarding current issues.
Chris, FAA Administrator Michael Huerta held his annual Meet the Administrator session Thursday here at AirVenture, but anyone who attended that was expecting to hear something substantive or new was probably disappointed. To be sure, there have been several significant advancements in aviation over the past 12 months, including an adoption of Part 107 for unmanned aerial vehicles, an NPRM for an update of Part 23 dealing with small aircraft certification, and a mandate from Congress from the agency to update its aeromedical rules. Much of that, Huerta said, has to do with the agency's shift to a risk-based approach to aviation safety. Huerta said the agency was moving forward on third-class medical reform.
The legislation gives us 180 days to draft a rule that will generally allow pilots to fly without a medical certificate if a number of conditions are met. They have a driver's license, they've held a medical certificate within the last 10 years, they've completed a medical education course and been physically examined by a state licensed physician. Now, I've assembled a dedicated team that's in charge of drafting the necessary regulatory text, moving it through our rulemaking process as quickly as we can on the timeline that Congress has laid out.
Huerta also reiterated that the January 1st, 2020 deadline for ADS-B equipage would not slip and went over the agency's rebate program for ADS-B compliance. The administrator said the recent policy allowing the installation of non-certified instruments by Dynon and Garmin in certificated airplanes will lead to similar rulings.
This will improve safety, it'll reduce costs, and it'll make it easier to install equipment like traffic advisory systems or terrain awareness and warning systems, attitude indicators, fire extinguishing systems, and autopilot or stability augmentation systems.
Huerta also said the agency is changing the way it certifies pilots.
Last month, we started the rollout of new Airman Certification Standards, which were developed as a collaborative effort spanning 5 years between the FAA and industry. By integrating knowledge and risk management with practical skills, these standards are designed to define what a pilot needs to know, to consider, and to do to fly safely in the complex airspace we have here in the United States.
Huerta also expressed concerns about long-term funding for the FAA and said that aviation is funded largely by airline ticket taxes that do not include extra fees charged by the airlines. Fuel tax revenue has also been stable or declining due to fuel savings from increased engine efficiency and performance-based navigation.
The conversation we need to be having is, what does the agency need to do? How do we pay for it? And how do we give it stability? So we have to use this next year really to focus on how do we build a public understanding of what those long-term needs are and have a conversation about what the agency needs to do, how we're going to support it, and how we're going to pay for it.
Huerta said he feels like the agency has been responsive to the GA community and not simply reactive to mandates from Congress, as was suggested by ANN's Jim Campbell. He cited the non-certified equipment STCs and ADS-B rebates as examples of how the agency has worked with industry to effect change. But overall, the speech, which was presented to a half-full Pavilion 7, was much more a look back than a look ahead. Chris?
After the break, King Schools addresses new testing standards. Things are evolving at Evolution Aircraft, and Sporty's Breakdown Assistant program could help you.
Alpha Systems AOA products are available for experimental, pressurized, and certified aircraft. President Mark Corrin notes that there is nothing more rewarding than designing a product that helps save someone's life. To see how Alpha Systems AOA technology can make you a safer pilot, Check out www.alphasystemsaoa.com.
When obstacles are hard to see, ForeFlight's synthetic vision provides pilots with better situational awareness and safety. ForeFlight, the app pilots depend on.
Welcome back to Airborne, coming to you this week from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. If you've seen something around Oshkosh that's really cool, let us know with the hashtag Osh16Coolest on your social media posts, just like Glenn Johansson did with some awesome tail art he saw at AirVenture this week. A&M's Jim Campbell caught up with John and Martha King of King Schools to discuss their training products and new Airman Certification Standards.
First, what's new at King?
Well, at King Schools, we're converting everything to high-definition video. Too bad I'm not high-definition radio ready, but we're doing that. And we just finished the private pilot course. We got one lab to go in it. And we're also doing Airman Certification Standards on our practical test courses. So we're converting the private and instrument practical test courses to cover Airman Certification Standards. How did I do?
The private practical test course incorporating the Airman Certification and, of course, all in HD has been finished and was released the end of June, so that's out and available. And the instrument practical test updated to ACS and HD will be out probably in about a month. It's in final editing right now.
Yesterday morning we discussed ACS. I've been getting a lot of feedback on it, and not a lot of it positive, especially from examiners and instructors who have been out there for a long time. You've got a decidedly different opinion than what I'm hearing. Fill me in.
I do. Well, first of all, it's a change, and we've been doing it this way. We've always done it this way. It's hard to get people to change it. But the Airman Certification Standards are designed to create a pilot who's risk aware, a pilot who knows what is about to happen, what the risks associated with it, and how they're going to mitigate those risks.
I think one of the important things to emphasize is that the tasks and the standards for the maneuvers on the practical test have not changed one bit. They are exactly the same that they were before. What has been added into the mix is a more thoughtful discussion of possible hazards and risks, and the thought process the pilot would go through in order to analyze those and to mitigate those.
A&N visited with Evolution Aircraft, and we found out that things are evolving at Evolution.
Lancair is separating into two organizations. We're selling the Lancair support business off, looking for a buyer. And then the Evolution Aircraft Company, which is taking off, is being put into a new co to pursue those opportunities. The customers that I've been able to talk to and explain why we're doing it seem to be all, okay, I got it, that's great. Well, we got to wait and see. But obviously there's a little bit of anxiety right now, like, well, who's it going to be and how's that going to work and et cetera. But I felt it was better that even though we haven't finalized everything, it's a small community, and I feel like at least people should know what we're doing, and that was my decision. We're vetting many suitors. We're looking for somebody or an organization to buy the Lancair assets to continue to support that business, and it's quite a good opportunity. There's 1,200 aircraft flying, almost 2,000 kits have been sold. And we're looking for a company that either sees the opportunity to sell parts and support those customers, and or has a new aircraft or some ideas they want to introduce to the market maybe a little quicker. They're probably a Lancair customer like me, owner. They're somebody that is passionate about the brand and the aircraft that are out there, but also somebody that's got the business experience that they see the opportunity that they can build on it for supporting maybe even other aircraft that are out of production. Airplanes don't seem to go away. Those people fall in love with them, and if on top of that they had some ideas for a new aircraft maybe that they were working on or they were getting close to, but they didn't want to come out of the chute as nobody, they wanted to kind of release it under that brand, that would be the perfect buyer for me.
Sporty's Pilot Shop has provided pilot supplies for many years, and now their Pilot Breakdown Assistant program helps pilots on the go. Here's ANN's Jim Campbell with the story.
Well, it's solving a problem, as you alluded to, that's been out there for a long, long time, and that is that I'm traveling cross country, I'm having a great time, and then I get something that could be potentially very minor that ruins my whole trip. And what we've got now is the ability, with a lot of the technology that's out there, to connect you as an aircraft owner with the experts at Savvy and Mike Bush's team so that you can talk to an experienced and knowledgeable ANPIA who can help you diagnose the problem, get it fixed if you need to, but in many cases, diagnose it as not a safety of flight issue and get you on your way and get you home.
Mike, I'm in my Mockbuster Thunder Crunch 2000. I'm in the middle of Who Cares, Idaho, and I've got funky red lights all over the place. I call you, what happens?
Well, you pull out your card. It has a toll-free number on it, which you call, and you explain to the person who answers who you are, where you are, and what the problem is. Within 15 minutes, and we've been actually averaging closer to 5 minutes, you'll get a call back from one of our ANPIA guys who is a specialist in your make and model, and he will probably play 20 questions with you. Typically, we can come up with a diagnosis remotely, make a determination as to whether the problem is safety critical or not. If it's not safety critical, we'll advise you that it's okay to either fly home or continue to a more suitable place to have a repair done. If it is safety critical, we'll consult our extensive database of maintenance resources and find somebody that we feel is competent to help solve the problem, get in touch with them, give them specific direction as to what to do. You may either elect to stay with the airplane while the repair is being made or continue on your way via alternate transportation, and we'll take care of dealing with getting the airplane fixed while you're gone. So that's basically it.
Mike, this is kind of like AAA for aviation. If somebody's interested in the program, how much, how do we get it, who do we call, what's the process?
Yeah, it's really it's an affordable, easy thing. That's the goal here. And so it's $149 a year. It's an annual membership. $149 a year for a piston single, $199 a year for piston twin, and $249 a year for a single engine turbine. You can buy it on sportys.com/BAP. You can buy it, and that information is instantly transmitted to Mike and his side of things, so you're instantly have an account set up. A couple days later, you'll get a package in the mail for your membership with your card that you can leave in your airplane, and you're ready to go.
After the break, Jim Campbell and Jack Pelton talk about the demographics of aviation.
Are you stall smart? Ever since Orville and Wilbur took to the skies, pilots have been taught that the more airspeed you have, the better off you are. But over the last 100 plus years, we've learned that's not always the case. Take stalls, for example. The common belief is that if you have sufficient airspeed, the aircraft won't stall. The fact is, an airfoil always stalls at the same critical angle of attack in relation to the relative airflow, regardless of airspeed, configuration, or weight. Learn more at aspenavionics.com.
Waco Classic Aircraft now offers the Great Lakes 2T1A2. Inspired by the classic YMF 5D, it's smaller but with 180 horsepower, simpler avionics, and fully aerobatic. Waco lets you fly simply for the fun of it. www.wacoaircraft.com.
Welcome back to Airborne Unlimited on Aero-TV. Coming to you this week from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's the fourth day of EAA AirVenture 2016, and EAA's President, Jack Pelton, discusses the issue of disparity of demographics between aviation and the rest of society.
There's certainly not enough women in this business. There's certainly not enough people of color. There's certainly not a whole lot of recognition of the fact that not everybody's running around in their 50s and 60s with gray hair, but with a desire to fly. What do we do to not only change the outreach and make aviation look more like the outside world, but also protect the people who are coming in as they make the transition?
It's one of our highest priorities because of exactly what you're saying, what the data shows from a demographics. If you look at our membership, you look at the aviation industry, it's exactly what you said. It's 60-year-old plus male Caucasians, and that is not representative of what our country looks like. And so we have to start finding ways to getting in to be more like the demographics of our audience, which is the entire United States and internationally. You know, I'm very proud of EAA has done a very good job historically of being non-discriminatory, very, very engaging in reaching out, especially to young women, to get them into aviation. We have our big event on Wednesday, which is Women Soar event and program. Our statistic numbers on young eagles flown and the conversion to pilots, actually on the female side, we converted a higher rate than what the number of female pilots are in the population. So, you know, we're trying to do everything we can, and we certainly recognize that that's our big issue going forward as an industry. And we want to make sure, you know, we're out there doing everything we can to promote and make us be and look like what the rest of the world is, because that's going to be required to be sustainable. You know, the other piece of it is we're not a very big community. I mean, when you look in the grand scheme of different groups, if you will, that are out there, the aviation community versus the general population is small. And so we also have to continue to do a much better job of promoting and supporting ourselves and try to stay away from creating negative barriers that somebody that we're trying to get into our community looks at and goes, I don't want any part of that. I mean, a small group like that, and they're fighting amongst themselves over issues that are not even real issues.
I've watched some phenomenal inroads being made in flight training. There are some people doing some really interesting, and once again, it's the chipping away effect. And every time I think about the chipping away, I have to go back to Buzz Aldrin's great line. I think one of the greatest things he's ever said to me was, revolutions are made by a series of small evolutionary changes. I mean, pilot training system has this phenomenal way of taking real-time weather and putting it into a simulation environment, and they're doing some really rocking work. And we're seeing some amazing sim technology every time we come to Oshkosh. Between Jerry at Redbird and Frasca and so many others, there's some tremendous stuff going on. Are we taking advantage of that technology? What else do we need to be looking at?
Boy, we need to put that technology roadmap on a light speed course, because if you think of the demographics we have today of the younger generation, the world has changed to where the attention span, the information you can get in 3 minutes is the norm. And so our flight training has to be converted to using all of those technologies to be able to get somebody through the process different than, I'd hate to say in my day, we didn't have anything to do. So, I mean, you'd go to the airport and you'd hang out and you'd do your flight and you'd go wait a few more days. But I didn't have a whole lot of other things preoccupying my time with this constant information that's coming at you. So I think if we do this evolutionary step to get to the revolution that you mentioned, we can break this code. I don't have the answer, I don't know, but there's great minds and people that are capable of doing it. We're doing kind of it's more than a beta test, but we've committed to this concept of the Sport Pilot Academy that we're announcing this week, which is 3-week immersion, take an individual with a written out of the way and get them through a sport pilot's license in 3 weeks. Stay at EA, at the lodge, meals, fly, guest speakers, total immersion. And if we can start collapsing that down to where you can get somebody to a point of success, and I think when we get our private pilot's license, we look at that first solo as a milestone, and the first cross country, and then eventually your certificate. We got to get more of that. The recognizing that's what young people want, is to get to a milestone and a goal quickly, with as much technology as you can put on it.
Electric airplanes. What do you think?
I think this week you'll see a strong statement made by Airbus that says the electric-powered technology is in our future, and they're working and spending money to make it happen. When I see things like that, I know it's going to happen. At some point we're going to see that be the next generation of all types of airplanes. I think starting initially with training airplanes like the Sunflyer that's out there. We're seeing it in automobiles. We're seeing, electric, autonomous, all of those things are going to migrate into sport and recreational aviation. Airbus is bringing their EFAN. They're bringing it, telling the world what type of technology roadmaps and demonstrators that they're working on. And I think they'll be quick to say, we don't know if an A380 will fly one day with electric power plants on it, but we know that technology will be applied somehow, some way on this evolutionary step. Now you've got me bought into the evolutionary steps to the revolutionary. And that's how you're going to get there. And that's why they're investing the money in doing this. They're going to learn a lot, and they're going to learn how that technology can migrate into other products of theirs. I think their only hindrance right now is getting confidence in battery technology.
In tomorrow's Airborne, the final segment of our interview between A&N CEO and Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell and EAA President Jack Pelton touches on the subject of how EAA can help aviation progress. Well, that's our program for today. We'll be back tomorrow with a look at the day's events from AirVenture 2016 at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. I'm Christopher C. Odom. Keep flying. We'll see you Friday.